Most men operate under the illusion that loyalty in relationships is transactional, that if they just do enough, give enough, or sacrifice enough, they'll secure a woman's devotion. They believe love is earned through effort, flowers too. Show affection, vacations to create memories. Solving her problems to prove reliability, or providing stability to demonstrate worth. But none of these actions, no matter how grand, guarantee loyalty. The hard truth is that women don't stay because of what you do for them, they stay because of how you make them feel when they're with you. This isn't about occasional moments of emotional connection. It's about consistent emotional impact. You can be the perfect man on paper, responsible, generous, attentively, still watch her walk away without hesitation. Why? Because logic doesn't dictate attraction. A woman's loyalty isn't tied to your resume of good deeds. It's tied to the emotional currents you create in her. If your presence no longer makes her feel alive, desired, or deeply understood, she will drift. It doesn't matter how much you've given or how hard you've tried, the emotional spark fades. So does her commitment. This explains why nice guys often finish last. They pour everything into the relationship believing fairness and effort will be rewarded, only to be blindsided when she chooses someone who does less but makes her feel more. It's not that women are ungrateful or cruel, it's that emotions, not logic, drive their deepest connections. A man who triggers excitement, mystery, or passion will always hold more power than one who simply checks the boxes of what a good partner should be. The painful irony. Many men double down on effort when they sense her pulling away, believing more flowers, more attention, more sacrifices will fix things, but this only accelerates the problem. Overgiving from a place of fear of losing her, fear of not being enough suffocates attraction. She doesn't want a man who revolves around her. She wants a man who stands firmly in his own energy, one whose presence alone makes her feel something real. The lesson is clear. If you want loyalty, stop focusing on what you do and start focusing on who you are. A woman's heart isn't won by labor, it's won by emotion, and emotion isn't bought. It's inspired. The currency that truly drives a woman's connection isn't material, it's emotional. While stability and reliability have their place, they're not what ignite passion or sustain long-term attraction. Women are drawn to the experience a man creates, not just the security he provides. This explains why the devoted boyfriend, who plans thoughtful dates and remembers anniversaries, can still lose her to the unpredictable, less available man who excites her nervous system. It's not about fairness, it's about how human chemistry works at its core. Feminine attraction responds to energy more than effort. A man who is emotionally predictable, always agreeable, and constantly available often becomes background noise, no matter how good he is. Meanwhile, the man who maintains an air of mystery, who isn't afraid to challenge her, who carries himself with unshakable confidence, he becomes the emotional focal point. This isn't because women enjoy chaos, it's because the tension he creates keeps her engaged on a deeper level. The right kind of tension, confidence without arrogance, presence without neediness, triggers something primal in her psyche. This dynamic is why acts of service alone fail to secure loyalty. Paying her bills or solving her problems might earn appreciation, but appreciation isn't attraction. What truly captivates is the way a man's presence makes her feel about herself. Does he inspire her, intrigue her, make her feel feminine and desired in his presence? These emotional responses are what create real attachment. A woman may logically respect the man who does everything for her, but she craves the man who stirs something inside, or she can't fully explain. The mistake many men make is assuming that consistency equals emotional depth. They believe being steadfast and dependable will automatically translate into lasting desire. But emotional depth comes from polarity, the push and pull of masculine and feminine energies. When a man is too accommodating, too eager to please, he erases that polarity. She may care for him, but without that magnetic charge, her loyalty will waver the moment someone who does create that spark enters the picture. Understanding this shifts everything. Loyalty isn't about what you give, it's about what you awaken in her. The men who inspire unwavering devotion aren't The ones who try hardest. They're the ones who master the unspoken language of emotional connection. They know that while stability provides comfort, it's the emotional current beneath the surface that truly keeps her anchored. The most dangerous trap a man can fall into is believing that if he just gives more attention, more affection, more sacrifices, he'll finally earn the love and loyalty he craves. But overgiving doesn't create attraction, it smothers it. Every time you go out of your way to prove your worth through excessive effort, you're not building connection, you're broadcasting insecurity. Women don't respond to neediness, no matter how well it's disguised as generosity. The harder you try to buy her loyalty with acts of service, the more you devalue yourself in her eyes. This happens because genuine desire can't be negotiated. A man operates from fear of losing her, fear of not being enough his. Energy becomes heavy, desperate, and ultimately repulsive. She doesn't want a man who prioritizes her happiness over his own dignity. What she truly responds to is strength. The quiet confidence of a man who gives when he chooses to, not because he's afraid not to. The moment she senses your actions come from a place of lack rather than abundance, your value in her mind plummets. No amount of favors can compensate for that loss of respect. This explains why the nice guy bends over backwards often finishes last. His overgiving isn't seen as love, it's seen as weakness. Meanwhile, the man who maintains boundaries, who doesn't drop everything for her, who stays focused on his own purpose, becomes the challenge that intrigues her. It's not that women are cruel or take good men for granted, it's that attraction follows biological imperatives, not moral ones. The male provider instinct to care, take, and solve problems is often the very thing that kills passion when it's not balanced with masculine edge. The bitter irony. The more you make her your priority, the less of a priority you become to her. Overgiving creates an imbalance where she feels no need to invest, no reason to chase. Why would she? You've handed her all your power on a silver platter. Real connection requires tension, and tension requires restraint. The man who understands this gives sparingly, not because he's withholding, but because he knows his time, attention, and energy have value. That subtle shift from seeking validation to embodying worth is what transforms how she sees you. Stop trying to prove you're worthy through deeds. Become the man who is worthy by nature of his unshakable self-respect. The foundation of lasting loyalty isn't built through grand gestures or relentless availability, it's forged in the quiet strength of emotional sovereignty. A woman's deepest devotion isn't given to the man who pleases her most, but to the man whose presence commands respect without demanding it. This is the paradox most men miss. The less you need her approval, the more powerfully she's drawn to you. Emotional sovereignty means maintaining your center regardless of her reactions, not being cold or indifferent, but rooted so firmly in your own purpose that her moods don't dictate your worth. Women test men instinctively, not out of malice, but to gauge the strength of their frame. When she withdraws, picks arguments, or seems suddenly disinterested, she's probing one question. Will he stand firm or crumble? The man who falters, apologizing unnecessarily, scrambling to fix things, altering his behavior to appease her fouls the test. But the man who remains unshaken, who listens without panic and responds without desperation, demonstrates the kind of masculine stability that inspires genuine loyalty. His consistency isn't boring, it's reassuring. She doesn't need to wonder if he'll change based on her emotions. His steady presence becomes her anchor. This dynamic explains why vulnerability without strength backfires. Sharing feelings can deepen intimacy, but only when it comes from a place of security, not neediness. A woman wants to see your depth, not your dependence. The emotionally sovereign man knows the difference. He can open up without collapsing, express care without clinging, and set boundaries without anger. That balance creates magnetic polarity. She feels safe enough to surrender emotionally, while still feeling the exciting tension of your unwavering self-possession. Ultimately, her loyalty follows where your energy leads. If you're constantly chasing her validation, she'll always be one step ahead, keeping you insecure. But when you cultivate unshakable self-assurance, when your happiness isn't hers to give or take, she's freed to meet you where you stand, that's the secret most men never grasp. True power in relationships doesn't come from controlling her feelings, but from mastering your own. The man who needs nothing from her ironically becomes the one she can't imagine leaving because his emotional sovereignty offers what no amount of overgiving ever could. A love she chooses, not a debt she owes. The path to becoming an unbreakable man isn't about changing who you are. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you to beg for love. This final transformation isn't about her at all. It's about reclaiming the primal confidence that makes women lean in without you leaning forward. The men who inspire deepest loyalty don't follow rules or play games. They operate from such grounded self-assurance that their mere presence rewrites the rules of engagement. This shift begins when you stop seeing relationships as something to be won and start treating them as reflections of your inner state. A woman's loyalty isn't something you extract through effort. It's what flows naturally when you become the kind of man who radiates unshakable value. That means developing the discipline to walk away from what doesn't serve you, the awareness to spot inauthentic connections early, and the courage to demand reciprocity without apology. The paradox: the less you tolerate half-hearted energy, the more wholehearted devotion you attract. True power lies in emotional independence, not the cold detachment of avoidance, but the vibrant self-sufficiency of a man who knows his worth isn't negotiable. When you stop outsourcing your happiness to a woman's approval, you develop the magnetic pull that makes her want to prove herself to you. This isn't manipulation. It's the natural order. It's just as flowers turn toward the sun, feminine energy orbits masculine certainty. Your job isn't to convince her to stay, it's to become so aligned with your purpose that leaving you would feel like abandoning sunlight. The final revelation: lasting loyalty isn't about what you're willing to do for her, it's about what you're no longer willing to do to yourself. When you stop betraying yourself with neediness, when you refuse to shrink your energy to make her comfortable, when you stand in your truth, regardless of consequences, that's when she'll either rise to meet you or reveal she'll never deserved you. Either outcome is victory. The unbreakable man doesn't fear loss because he knows his value isn't tied to any single person's recognition. And that's precisely why he becomes impossible to forget.